Hi there, I'm Leanne from Reboot Mindset Coaching, and I'm also the founder of the School of Self-Worth. And I'm so glad that you're here considering doing this for yourself. But if you're anything like me, you kind of need a bit of a glimpse first to know what you're signing up for before you really jump in boots and all. Because, hey, let's face it, how many programs have we bought? How many books have we started reading? How many diets have we started doing? How many New Year's resolutions have we committed to? And then they've all just fallen in a heap and gathered dust, and we don't do them. And it's not long before we start to think, I'm just useless. And then something really good comes along, but we're a bit scarred from all of those other experiences. So we don't really know if this is for us or not, and we doubt ourselves. So if you're thinking that, then I just want to say, well done, because it shows that you're doing some research before you just sign up for this and let this accumulate dust because of all those old habits that you used to think were running you, but you're soon going to think are actually something else instead. So this is a bit of a passion project of mine, and I've wanted to do this for a long time. And do you know, something really, really interesting occurred to me a few days ago. I remembered a retreat that I went on. This would be, probably about 15, 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, before I was into all of what I'm doing now. In fact, I knew nothing about any of this stuff. And part of this retreat is we got to pick all of these different therapies, massage, Reiki, kinesiology, reflexology, naturopathy. And one of the ones that I chose was I spoke to this lady who was a clairvoyant, and she said to me on the day, she said, you're going to create something that is going to be a survival guide for millions. And I remember thinking at the time, what are you on? And because I wasn't even aligned with that, me, I'm nothing. Why do you think about this retreat? I need help. What on earth makes you think I'm going to do something like that? And I actually walked away thinking, you're full of shit. And that actually occurred to me just the other day. And I thought, crap, holy crap, it's happening. I want to tell you why I created this. And it's because I have so many clients that come to me for the exact same thing that I thought rather than spend thousands of dollars coming and doing a one-to-one program, why not put all of these tools into one program and still provide, individual support and group support so lots of people can access it without having to spend that massive, great investment. And to give you an idea, just so you can see if you relate to this, I took some notes. This was over 2 days. 2 days I had clients come in, and I just made notes of what their language was, so that then when I went in to create this program, I wanted to satisfy all of these needs. So this is the kind of thing that this program was designed to resolve. So if you can relate to any of this, then you're in the right place. And if you can't relate to any of it, then I just say all power to you and thank you for watching. So personally, this was the frequent flyer thoughts. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm always bloody stressed. I want to feel joy, but it's so far away. I'm sick of being stuck, sick of being invisible. I'm just so exhausted. I don't know what I'm even living for. I don't have a sense of purpose. I'm really bored. I don't feel like I fit in. I don't really feel like anybody gives a crap. I never know what to say, so I don't say anything. I can't read my writing. I want to feel better, and I want to be able to be better. I don't want to always be controlled, and I don't want to be exhausting myself meeting everyone else's needs and no one else giving a crap about mine. And then with a couple of corporate clients, I asked them the same question, and their answers were, I have some really tricky behaviors to deal with, but I just don't know how to deal with it. I've got dysfunction that I can't seem to break through. I've got staff who are blaming each other. I'm not sure how to word what I need to say. I don't know how to get everyone working together. I don't know how to resolve this. I don't know how to lead or get people through because I'm up in my own head and blah, 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 blah. And the list goes on. So if you can relate to any of that, then you're in the right place, and this program was designed for you. In a second, I'm about to take you through a glimpse into Module 1 and what it's all about and what we're going to be doing in there so that you can get a feel for what the program is about. Prior to Module 1, though, you'll have an element of pre-work, pre-play. You can call it whatever you'd like. And that is really important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, if I threw you straight into Module 1, which is so impactful, so science-based, and so many light bulb moments likely to go off, you're probably going to get a massive case of learned digestion and go, whoa, this is a lot, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. So I'm going to break you in gently and give you some pre-work to do, which is a lot less science-based, which is a lot more sort of emotional, sort of a bit of fun, but also really, really helpful. So the pre-work is a few lessons on how to recognize and silence your inner critic, because let's face it, if that inner critic is at full volume when you start this program, are you going to do it? No, because you're going to assume that the excuses it gives you, like, oh, I can't be bothered, oh, this is dumb. You're going to assume that that is just your logic thinking, and you're going to buy into it. But what the pre-work does is it allows you to recognize all of these barbs and grenades that your inner critic is going to throw at you. And it's going to give you some really good actionable tools on how to actually go, nice try, sunshine, and not feel bogged down by that need to procrastinate and put things off and shelve things for another day. It's a light module. It's probably going to be a little bit weird for you. But that's deliberate. Not only will it give you some really, really, really good tools to make the most out of this program, it also allows you to get used to my teaching style and to develop a sense of rapport with me before we go into the really big, let's get shit done stuff. The other great thing about the pre-work module is it allows me to give you a bit of an induction into the School of Self-Worth, where to find everything, how things happen, how to access things, what I'm available for, how to contact me, and all of those great things. So it's a bit like your orientation. Then we're going to go into Module 1. Now, I'm not going to take you through all the exercises that I do in Module 1 because that's really quite in depth, and I want to spend some more time with you before I do that. But what I do want to do is to show you what's included and what you are going to be learning and pulling apart and becoming aware of, because Module 1 is very big. It is really big, and it needs to be, because we're going to be shifting some major shit in this program. And until we know what that shit is, it's just going to sabotage us, and we don't want to be doing that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen with you and take you on a little bit of a guided tour, and also into the lesson of Module 1, so you can see if this is something that you even feel relates to you. Right. So the School of Self-Worth, grow beyond what you think is possible. Now, what is included in Module 1? Module 1 is going to be all about understanding what are the 5 core wounds that are derailing you. Now, there are lots of these wounds, but these are the 5 that I deal with in my clients all the time. These are the frequent flyers. These are the ones that fuck shit up and make you think that you're the problem rather than realizing what the actual problem is and how easy it is to resolve. So Module 1 is the 5 core wounds and the small steps that you can take to start healing them. Now, what are they? They are the self-imposed prison that you put yourself in. These wounds may originate from the past and also from your upbringing. This is not about us parent bashing. This is not about saying your parents were shit, But we are allowed to say, you know what, the stuff that you experienced was not okay. It actually was not okay. Yes, we know that our parents were running their own core wounds, but you're still allowed to say this was not cool. And just because they've installed that stuff in you, or maybe it was teachers or maybe first relationships, it doesn't mean that it needs to be part of your operating system. So even though we are going to be understanding these 5 core wounds, the purpose of this module is not to revisit or to dwell on what that past pain was. What we're going to do here is focus instead on understanding how these wounds continue to shape the way that you see yourself and the way that you see your world. They also shape your behaviors. And when we understand that we can heal them without re-traumatizing ourselves, amazing things happen. Right, it is a pretty heavy module, but you're up to it. I know that you're up to it because, hey, you've spent decades getting here. You're not going to expect to take a silver magic pill and be done with it. So what are the 5 core wounds? Let's look at what they are. They are, I'm not safe. They are, I'm not loved. I'm not heard. I'm not seen. And I'm not enough. So while these all originate from the past, it's important again for me to state to you that we are not going to go back and revisit and dwell on it. But you'll know if you're running these 5 core wounds because it's almost like you can't see a future that is really exciting and filled with success because your future is almost like a rerun of your past, isn't it? It's almost like you're living a Groundhog Day. You're on this rinse and repeat cycle that it's same old, same old. You come up with these issues and then you leave a relationship or a workplace or a friendship and the issues are there again. Huh, welcome to the 5 core wounds. And all this time you've been thinking it's you. It's not. So let's dive right in. I want to give you a bit of an idea of if you're running the I'm not safe wound, you might relate to this a lot. You might relate to this a little. You might not relate to it at all. But if you are experiencing this on the inside, you're going to find that you might have a feeling where you can't really give your all to everything. You always reserve and hold a bit of yourself back. It's almost like a bit of an escape clause. You've always got one eye on the door. Even when you're with a group of people that you really love and really feel safe with, you're already sort of thinking about what's next. You know, you might even have your excuse ready in case you are not happy and you want to leave early. You've probably already prepared that, and you don't really want to commit to anything. Back in the days when I did hypnotherapy, if I saw this wound running in somebody, what I would do is I would, even though they wanted the hypnotherapy, I wouldn't put a blanket over them because that would actually feel like almost a restraint. And if you're experiencing the I'm not safe wound, subconsciously, you need to know that you can actually leave at any time. So what kind of things would we expect to see in someone who's running this wound? Yes, hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is when you are on all the time. It's a biggie. You're constantly scanning the environment for threats and dangers, even when it feels safe. This doesn't mean threats and dangers as in people coming in to harm you. It could be looking for judgment. It could be looking for comparison. It could be looking for how maybe you don't quite fit in. You may find that you have a bit of social anxiety. You may find that you find it hard to relax. And when you first go to a place, you're almost like spend a whole lot of time processing before you then going to feel like you can relax into it. What else would you expect to see if you're running the I'm not safe wound? You aren't going to be avoiding vulnerability, which it's no surprise, is it? So many people who I ask, what is your definition of vulnerability? They will say something like, I'm open for attack. I'm open for, somebody I'm exposed. So you can see that if you're not safe, the last thing you want to do is open yourself up for exposure. So the avoiding vulnerability is we don't want to be emotionally hurt or betrayed, and quite often we'll bring past hurts forward and look out for those so that they don't happen again. But what we do is we end up building this bloody great big brick wall between us and what it is that we want. We really want to be close to people. We want that level of intimacy that is just so enriching, but we just don't quite know how to do it. And we might struggle to trust people, struggle to let people in. We often have our guard up. So what else would we expect to see if we're running the I'm not safe wound? Risk aversion. Again, no surprise. We have a bit of an allergy to the unknown. In fact, without realizing and without doing it on purpose, we would rather stay stuck than actually do something brave or something new. The comfort zone is our favorite place. Doesn't mean that we're happy when we're in there, but we often feel that sense of anxiety or stress because that allows us to stay home and actually avoid what we think might be some discomfort. Again, it puts a big brick wall between us and what we want, because and I want you to really understand this, our fear of failure is much stronger than our desire for growth. Your fear of failure is much stronger than your desire for growth. You want to grow, but there's a part of you that's like, just not sure. So what else would you expect to see if you are running the I'm not safe wound? You are become a threat radar. You're scanning for threats all the time and you see them even when they're not there. You know, when you believe that you are not okay or that people are judging you, you know that you're looking and you see judgment everywhere, don't you? You see rejection everywhere. You see evidence everywhere that you are not okay as you are. When people open up and share their thoughts and feelings with you, you might see them as a bit of an attack. You might be thinking, oh, really? If somebody opens up to you and says, wow, so-and-so is doing this so well, you might perceive that as, well, are you saying that I'm not? So we actually will find these threats and these judgments and these attacks everywhere, not on purpose. You are not doing it on purpose. But because of this, we get defensive quite a lot and we get up in our head and then we start to overthink because we think, what did she mean by that? Or what did he mean by that? Or we start to go, oh, damn it, I should have said this. Or damn it, I should have done that. Or why did I say that? Self-isolation becomes a big thing when we're running the I'm not safe wound. We are the kings and queens of avoidance. Our withdrawal from events with both friends and family is a form of self-protection. We don't like it. We want to be with them, but we just can't. It's just uncomfortable. We do feel lonely, but we would rather feel the loneliness rather than feel like we're relinquishing control. But when we're, in our comfort zone, we have control over our surroundings, don't we? We have control over our feelings. We generally share our comfort zone with blocks of chocolate and alcohol and procrastination. But hey, better the devil we know. What else would we expect? Control issues, not just from other people, but from us. In fact, micromanagers are us. We love a schedule. In fact, the schedule is tight. It is bulletproof. And we get a bit freaked out if things change. We are not big fans of change because we haven't had a chance to get used to it, to get comfortable with it. So we generally will avoid those opportunities if they're not expected. So people might see us as controlling. Oh, you're such a control freak. No, it's not that at all. It's the fact that if you have a good idea of what to expect, you actually feel a whole lot safer. Anxiety is another companion of the I'm not safe wound, and we might experience feelings of anxiety, panic. We might anticipate judgment and things going wrong and people not liking us, which, let's face it, it really, really impacts on our life. We are experiencing constant alertness. This is kind of what I said before, in that we're always on. We're always on. We might have difficulty relaxing or letting people in. We find it hard to switch off. We're always like the meerkat. I like the meerkat, sort of like always scanning to make sure that we're okay. this chronic sense of alertness, it is exhausting, isn't it? It is exhausting, and it actually really compromises your mental and physical health. You can get quite a lot of pain in your joints and your muscles when you're experiencing this, because there is a level of tension that you don't even know that you're experiencing. It's also pretty exhausting for the people around us. So in conclusion, the I'm not safe wound deeply affects how we perceive and navigate the world around us. We know that. We have a life of distrust and fear and avoidance. But when you get and you understand how to heal this wound without going back into it and talking about it and pulling it apart and working out what caused it and why you've got it, you'll find that you have a sense of safety and security and empowerment that makes you feel good no matter where you are. It gives you a sense of being able to handle anything and anyone without even questioning that. And you no longer start using terms like my anxiety. In module 1, at this point, I then take you through a whole heap of exercises that we do that are going to help you acknowledge, challenge, release, and then reflect on this at how, wow, it's going to give you so much enlightenment, and also the tools and the steps to actually getting past it, challenging it, and making your subconscious mind go, wow, nothing fluffy. It's all science-based, and it's all stuff that's worked for me. I wouldn't be sharing this with you unless I had used this myself. And this is only one of the 5 core wounds. You're probably already thinking, oh, Jesus, I'm stuffed. I already relate to a lot of that, and you haven't even done the other 4 yet. You're going to find that all of these wounds are a bit of a mishmash into each other. You're going to find a little bit of this. Oh, yeah, I've got a little bit of that, a little bit, oh, and a double helping of that one. But it's not that you are defective. It's the fact that you are running this wound. And what I want you to understand is if you had a major abdominal wound, you wouldn't be able to walk very far, would you? You wouldn't be able to walk very fast. But you're not going to go to a physio to work out how to walk faster, are you? Because you know the problem's actually not your legs. The problem is this wound, and your self-worth is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. You've got this wound that's preventing you from moving forward at any kind of pace, but you're blaming yourself. We just need to heal the wound. So you can start to see that these wounds become the bars. Our thoughts become the bars that keep us stuck. We can see where it is that we want to go, but we just can't get there. So let's move right along. So we've done the I'm not safe. The next one is the I'm not loved. You might relate to this one again a lot, maybe a little, maybe not at all. There may be parts that you think, yeah, and other parts where you think, no. Now, this one really messes with our sense of belonging and our sense of how much people really value us. It distorts what we think we've got to offer to people in business and also to friendships. And when people see great things in us, we're like, what? We have a real fear of abandonment and rejection when we are running this wound. And in fact, we might even think it's just a matter of time before people find someone better. And if you're in relationships, if you are the person running this wound, you're going to be thinking, well, I'm not going to give everything because I'm sure they're going to find someone better down the track. Or if you are with someone who's running this wound, you're going to find it so frustrating because you just want more and more and more of them, but you just can't get access to it. And again, it's not about parent bashing, but if you, as a child, did have to fight for attention, or you had to earn that love, or you had to be something or someone in order to get that sense of being okay, then you can understand where this is coming from. Again, it's not giving you an excuse to say, oh, yeah, that's why I'm like this. It's actually giving you awareness on, wow, actually, yeah, this could be running me. So what kind of things would you expect to see if you did have this wound active within you? Well, the first one is a really big need for validation. You're going to find that you're on this constant quest for approval so that you can fill your self-worth cup, but the whole time you're bashing a hole in the bottom of it. So which makes you not be able to accept it. I mean, let's face it, you want to be approved, you want to be loved, you want to be celebrated. But when anybody does do that for you, you feel kind of freaked out. You feel kind of uncomfortable. In fact, you just want it to go away. How great are you at accepting compliments? Are you like, wow, yeah, awesome? Or are you like, you sort of like sort of scrunch yourself up? Isn't it funny that the one thing that we really, really want is also the one thing that we actually really won't allow? So what else would we expect to be doing or feeling if we had this wound within us? We would have quite a big fear of being alone, and that's going to keep us stuck in friendships, relationships, and workplaces that aren't healthy for us, but beats the alternative. It's a bit like the devil, stay with the devil, because you don't know what else is out there. We lower the bar in terms of what we will accept in terms of behavior, because we put up with a lot of stuff because it beats being alone. So we generally won't push back or stand up for ourselves, because being uncomfortable in that situation is easier than having to be alone or isolated. We will actually put up with things like bullying and gaslighting and other kinds of mistreatment. Now, I'm not talking about major abuse or things like that. I mean, mistreatment can be something along the lines of someone that always makes it about them. We allow that mistreatment. We allow the fact that whenever we go to talk about something, we just assume that that other person's going to use segue back into me. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we desperately don't want to be alone, but we can feel incredibly lonely in our relationships. But we don't know what to do about it. We just don't know what to do about it. So what else would we expect to see? We struggle with inadequacy a lot. Our feelings of inadequacy trump everything else. Even if we've got a shit ton of success and achievement behind us, we generally don't focus on that, because that imposter syndrome gets a stranglehold on us and stops us from doing the things that we really, really dream of doing. By the way, imposter syndrome isn't isolated to people in business. It's also in relationships as well, where you feel like you aren't really worthy of that, or it's just a matter of time before someone actually thinks, you know what, yeah, you're not everything that I thought you were. And sometimes with some of the therapies around getting rid of imposter syndrome is about reflecting back on everything that you have achieved. It doesn't help, does it? Because this wound is alive within you, preventing you from putting any real importance on that. So how can you celebrate yourself when you've got this thing festering inside of you that actually won't allow you to? What that then does is it makes it worse, doesn't it? Because you're like, I can't even do this. What else would we expect if we've got the I'm not loved wound running within us? People pleasing. Hands up on my people pleasers in the house. Oh my God, I so relate to this. I used to be the most chronic helpaholic. I was a member of like dozens of committees. I ran most of them. Every spare waking moment was volunteering or helping someone else, waiting for someone to hold up a scorecard so that I would know that I was okay. No one ever really did, though, but it didn't stop me. So when we are in that people pleasing, we go above and beyond to meet the needs and expectations of others so that they will like us and they will make us feel good. Interestingly, our need to help other people to feel good then makes us a magnet for people that need us to help them. It makes us a magnet for the users, for the controllers, for the narcissists, for the gaslighters, for the user-friendly friends who want us just to bolster them up. But we hear crickets when we're the ones that were struggling. When we are people-pleasing, we are putting everyone else's needs above our own, but it's highly likely that you probably don't even know what your needs are. And that whole concept of wanting to put yourself first, it feels, so we just don't do it. And we say yes to everyone, because imagine the people that we're going to let down if we say no. So what else are you depressed right now? It's okay. If you are starting to relate to this, get really excited because you've not known before now that this wasn't you. This was a wound that you've got that can be healed. But what's happening is all of the things that you're doing and thinking and feeling are shoving a fist in that wound and opening it up all the time. When you know how to heal it, these things don't become an issue and you still get to be a really nice, kind, caring person, but without the obligation. Oh, how awesome would that be? So what else we're going to experience? Yes, boundaries is a bit of a scary word. We're going to have big difficulty setting boundaries, so we don't. We don't, because of that fear of rejection or abandonment means that we just allow people to treat us the way that they do rather than us call out their behavior. We often don't know what to say. And yes, we do love confrontation, but what we don't like is the fact that they might say something back and we won't know what to say. So we just drop all our boundaries. People can pretty much do what they want to us and around us, and we just suck it up, be the better person. We get pretty bloody resentful. We really do, because it's like no one gives a shit about us and how you are respecting and being aware of the impact that you have on others, but people just don't even seem to be interested in that. They just walk all over you, but you let them, because not because you choose to, not because you're deliberately wanting to, you don't even know that you're doing this. It's just that you don't want to be letting people down, because if you let people down, they're going to be disappointed in you, and that's hard. That's a big weight to carry. So another thing that we're going to see if we've got the I'm not loved wound running within us is we're going to sabotage relationships. We do this a lot. And the reason why is because to us, we are so used to the roller coaster life that when things actually are going pretty good, we get a bit nervous. We get a bit freaked out. So we generally will then go and fuck shit up just so that we can have the roller coaster back. Not that we like it. We don't like it, but we know how to do it. We're not used to long levels of happiness. In fact, we often fear happiness because what comes on the other side of it? The happier we are, the more we're reminded that, oh, the fall is going to be bigger and it's going to hurt more once this all crashes down. So we will sabotage things so that we don't get that level of happiness. And people inevitably end up going, I really want something amazing with you, but I just can't. This is a lot of work and I just can't keep doing this. And so we have friends and we have relationships and partners that leave. And then we fall back into that whole cycle of see, but it's not you. And you hate it just as much as anyone else, but you don't know what to do about it. You just don't. You know you want to change it, but do you know how to? And if you don't know how to, you just fall back to that familiar pattern of it's me. The problem is me. So in conclusion, with this wound, the I'm not loved wound massively distorts again how you perceive yourself and how you show up in your life. You may even start to confuse sympathy for love because you intrinsically deep down inside, without really even realizing it, don't believe that people would really want to be with you. So if you've got illness or an injury or something like that, it kind of makes people have to be with you. So you very quickly start to confuse sympathy for love. And you'll recognize these people because you might turn up to work or to a friendship group and say, how are you going? And then you go, damn it, why did I say that? Because then you just get this, the pity party happens. Oh, it's like Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. It's like, oh, because then that's where you have to go, oh no, that's terrible. Yeah. And of course, then I want to be there for you and support you. And I don't want to upset you because I know what you're going through. So I'm going to like tolerate this behavior. And oh, it's just a cycle that we fall into. Again, I cannot state enough that no one's doing it deliberately. You do not know you're doing it. This wound is the problem, not you, not you. People that are running this wound hate it as much as the people around them. It's fascinating. It's also very, very debilitating. But when you start to recognize these patterns without any judgment, no judgment, this is a naughty corner free zone, you can start to push back on them. And in doing so, you start to dismantle them and you stop punching your fist into these wounds and opening them up again. And you allow them to start to heal. And you're going to find that you're going to build healthier, more meaningful friendships and relationships easily with much better people because you automatically just attract those people because this wound is healed. And you're no longer attracting the people that need you to have this wound because they can exploit it. And you know that that's a thing. And you're going to have your friendships and relationships built on genuine connection rather than, ooh, I get something out of you because you don't like yourself. Oh, are you starting to see the bars that we impose on ourselves by our thinking and our beliefs? Now, this is programming that you have been installed with, that you have simply decided is who you are. You've made up your mind about your worth. Who's to say that what you've made up your mind about is wrong? And here's the clincher. If you are not happy, then that is evidence that the stuff you're believing is not true. Because when you are aligned with your worth, you feel good nearly all the time. And life is easy. So the fact that you're uncomfortable shows that you are so far disconnected from who you really are. That's what's causing the pain. But you've decided it's because you're the problem. Couldn't be far further from the truth. Oh, and just as the I'm not safe wound with the I'm not loved wound, in the actual module, I then take you through the exercises, which are going to allow you to, without any judgment, start to pull this apart and start to really, really heal that wound so that you don't even have a concept of needing to be loved because you have so much of it within you that you're not looking for evidence that you're not. Oh, it's so freaking exciting, so exciting. Let's move right along. So, I'm not safe, I'm not loved. We've had a bit of a journey into those. Let's look at the third one. The third one is I'm not heard. We, again, all experience this in some way. It's interesting how we participate in it, though. Isn't it funny that when you feel that you're not heard, you generally don't speak up? So let's dive right in. Let's just get in there. Seeing as how you're here, let's just carry on in. The I'm not heard wound generally starts to fester when we are repeatedly ignored, dismissed, or even ridiculed. It can also happen when we are invalidated, disregarded, or silenced by others. And there's no surprise here that when this happens, we become less inclined to share what we're thinking. We become less inclined to share our ideas. Instead, we just start validating other people's because it's easier that way. It's not like anybody wants to listen to what I've said. So you're going to find that even in meetings, when there's like, has anyone got any ideas or has anybody got anything to add? And you know that you do, you're generally going to go, no. And you're just going to keep holding yourself back. This wound happens a lot from childhood, but it can also happen later on in life, especially if you are with a partner or a friend that has really overruled you and dominated you. You learn very quickly that it's a lot safer just to shut the fuck up. As humans, we are funny creatures. We think that we're not heard, so we generally don't speak. So what kind of things are we, you probably already got a bit of an idea here, but what kind of things are we going to see or hear if we're running the I'm not heard wound? First of all, no shit, Sherlock, we're going to have difficulty in speaking up. You feel hesitant or a bit anxious about sharing your thoughts or opinions in group settings, usually because you assume that people are going to like look at you funny, or they're not going to buy into you, or they're going to make you feel a bit dumb, or they're going to challenge you. Avoid, abort, don't go for the challenge. We will do everything we can to avoid conflict. Yes, this is a bit of a human thing. You don't need to be just having this wound in order to avoid conflict, but where it's different is in life, we avoid conflict here and there, but when we're running this wound, we avoid all of it. In fact, we often see it before it's happened and we start to prepare for it. So we find ourselves staying silent or withdrawing from situations where there might even be a hint of disagreement or confrontation. We might even anticipate it, which makes us avoid conversations before they've even started. You're going to find that it's not about choosing your battles. It's going to be about seeing battles everywhere. So you avoid those deep. You're worried that you're going to hear something that you don't want to hear. So you generally brick wall and avoid and cancel meetings or disrupt or, yeah. Do you find yourself doing that? I know I used to do that. So what else do you find when you are running the I'm not heard wound? Well, we become over accommodating. We just nod and we smile and we go along with people, even when we think they're a bloody idiot or talking shit. We're just going to go, oh, And we do that because we don't want confrontation. We don't want rejection. We don't want to say to them, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that's going to be painful for us. So we generally buy into it. And as a result, we become enablers for this kind of behavior because we're rewarding it by not challenging it, but we don't know how to challenge it. So we don't. We get up in our heads. We assume that people aren't going to want to know what we have to say, or they're going to think that we are stupid. Yeah, we make a lot of assumptions in this wound. What else? What else are we going to see or hear in this wound? We're going to have some or a lot of emotional withdrawal. The whole turtle in the shell thing. We retreat or disconnect from people, and it starts to become our number one coping mechanism for people who are a bit tricky or a bit or they're inclined to go, what do you mean by that? We will avoid those people. It doesn't mean that we need to speak up and speak out in order to heal this wound, but I really invite you to look for where you self-silence yourself. Is it the other person not buying into you? Or are you self-silencing yourself? Are you like literally having some subconscious duct tape across your mouth so that you're not speaking up? Like all the other wounds, I'm going to give you an incredible range of exercises and tools and techniques to actually heal this wound, because it's hard to heal it right now, as with all of the wounds, because while this wound is running within you, you're using that thinking to try and resolve it. And you can't solve a problem with a problem. You can't. You need something on the outside to make you aware of what's going on and what to do about it. So what else are we going to experience if this wound is running? We get a bit sensitive to dismissal. And this was a major, major, major thing for me in the past. If I was talking to someone and they suddenly looked at their phone or they looked out their window or something like that, I'd be just like, I would shut down and I would have this internal sense of, fuck you, then I'm not going to say anything. And then they would say, what was that? And I'd say, it doesn't matter. And they'd say, no, I want to hear what you got to say. And you're like, no, it doesn't matter. And we just get this whole childish thing happening, and it's hard to come back from that, isn't it? So, and that's because we're more inclined to expect that rejection or dismissal, and we start to prepare for it internally. So if somebody does do something like that, looks at their phone or looks out their window or seems to glaze over, we take it personally. We feel a lot of anger because of this, and we believe that we're never taken seriously, even when we are. Like if somebody looks at us like this, we think that they're judging and challenging us, whereas really they're probably like going, oh, never saw it like that before. And again, this is not your fault. It is not your fault. This is not about me saying, look how fucked you are. It's about me saying, geez, you've accumulated a lot of stuff that's been heavy, been really, really heavy. So in conclusion, when you're running the I'm not heard wound, it sucker punches that ability of yours to communicate in relationships. You get terrified of sharing what it is that you're thinking or feeling. So you sanitize it all the time. You pretty much share what you think people want to hear rather than what you really want to say. And this is an interesting thing. Your mind will often help you. You can develop some sort of a speech impediment if you're running this wound because it helps you to not speak up. And I'm not saying that this wound is necessarily some sort of diagnosable impediment. It could also be something along the lines of, when you go to talk, you actually feel like you've got this big lump in your throat. You might find that everything makes sense to you until you're in a conversation, then you almost lose the ability to speak English and your thoughts get really scattered, so you don't have the ability to talk. It's big. It's big. It's really big. And again, I'm going to give you some really, really great stuff to heal this wound. And when you do this module, you're going to have a fair bit of time to do it. It's not about doing all of this in one day. In fact, you do not do that. You might take a week to do each one of these wounds and to reflect and to answer the questions and to do the little things in there, none of which are going to force you out of your comfort zone. Just saying, my belief is that aversion therapy, or what do they call it? Exposure therapy is not how you do this. I'm not going to make you speak up to heal this wound because it's going to make it worse. You're just going to go, fuck that, and you're going to dump it all. So none of the stuff that I give you to do to heal this wound is going to push you, but it's going to be a private journey. It's not going to involve you needing to do something right now that you're uncomfortable with. So the bars, they just keep coming. The wounds keep coming. So we've got 2 more to go. Hang in there with me. We're on the homeward straight. So we've been over I'm not safe, not loved, not heard. Let's have a bit of a glimpse into what's going to be happening if you're running the I'm not seen wound. So the I'm not seen wound usually results in being overlooked or overshadowed. It can be really common if you have grown up with a sibling or siblings which seem to have been identified as the favorite. Even if they haven't been, you might perceive them as being the favorite. So you start to believe that you're less significant. You start to believe that you need to earn, you need to really hustle for any kind of approval. Again, it's not about parent bashing. I do not believe in that because, hey, if you ask my kids, they're going to say, yeah, I pretty royally fucked them up, bringing them up as well. We don't know what we don't know, but it's about learning and changing what we don't know rather than going, this is just how I am. We're not going to be doing that. Ironically, when you are identified as the favorite in a family or a workplace, that also comes with a whole lot of pressure. And that's something that I'm happy to discuss in our live sessions if people would like to know more about that. And you will know yourself that if you were the one identified as the favorite, it comes with a lot of heaviness, but that's not what we're covering right now. When you have the I'm not seen wound, you have a lot of invisibility. You feel like you are an extra in your own life. You're always the bridesmaid or the groomsman. You're never actually the groom or the bride. You're never actually the star. You're always the support act. But interestingly, you feel a sense of invisibility, but you also crave it. You also create it. You need invisibility because that's where you feel safe. We participate in it without even realizing what we're doing. So what are we going to be experiencing, seeing, or doing when this wound is running within us? Well, we're going to be experiencing loneliness. And this is something that we don't generally like to talk about, is it? We don't really like to talk about loneliness because we feel that if we do, the people around us are then just going to start inviting us to stuff, turning up, doing stuff with us. And that's not what we want. You don't heal loneliness by having lots of people around you. That can actually exacerbate the loneliness. It's about that real deep feeling of connection. Just having extra noise and extra people around you is not what is the salve for the loneliness wound. But we generally don't talk about it because we think people are going to go, well, we'll come over more or come with us. And you're thinking, no, that's not what I mean. So when we are running this loneliness, we feel quite disconnected and we feel isolated, even when we're either with other people. And we might even believe that we're not actually that interesting and we don't really have that much to offer. So we hold ourselves back. Another thing that we experience when this wound is running is we downplay ourselves a lot. We are not big fans of talking about our achievements. In fact, we've kind of been taught that that's a bit up yourself, isn't it? You're a bit egotistical. You put yourself first. That's a bit selfish. And if we do get acknowledgement, we generally go, oh, team effort, or I was just lucky. We downplay everything. If someone says, oh my gosh, I love that shirt, you're going to go, $3 from Kmart. We just feel the need to cheapen and downplay ourselves all the time. It's really, really interesting. And the other thing that's interesting here is that, you know how we've been taught not to be selfish? We were taught that by selfish people because we were taught not to value ourselves. We were taught to value what they want us to do. So what else would we experience when we are running this wound? Resentment. Yeah, we are resentful fuckers a lot. We get very resentful. We actually can be quite judgmental or even feel envious towards people who get the recognition, especially if we think they don't deserve it. Or if they get that recognition because we think that, well, they're just the favorites, they're up that person's ass, so they get all the good stuff, or they're in the purple circle. We might even feel that people steal our ideas and take credit for them, not that we've actually even shared them in the first place, but we see people doing really well who we believe shouldn't be getting that success because they're not good people. But what is it to us? Or are we just being resentful because we feel that we're not seen? Again, we don't do it deliberately. We don't even know that we're doing it, but we can be really quite judgmental people. We wear our judgy pants a lot when we're running this wound because the whole time that we're not seen, all we're seeing is other people in the spotlight. And we don't like it. Not that we want to go there ourselves, mind you. In fact, we avoid that like the plague. So what else do we experience when we are running this wound? Difficulty with really meaningful connection. We want it, but we can't really have it. We much prefer to hang out in the back, out of the way, which makes it hard to develop quality friendships or relationships. And if people are really interested in us or are inspired by us or really want to be with us, we can get a bit suspicious and we kind of like think, what's the catch? Or are you trying to sell me something? Or we just think that they're not the real deal because we don't think that, well, they're seeing something in me that I don't see. So obviously they're seeing it wrong. We kind of believe that they're going to move on again eventually because they're going to see someone better or see something in us that, yeah, actually lets them know that we're not that great. Which leads on to a fear of standing out. No, you go. No, you go, you go. We avoid opportunities or situations where we could attract attention or be celebrated because we prefer, as we said before, to blend into the background. We are like the chameleons. We just blend in so that we fit in, so that we belong. And that helps us avoid the judginess or the scrutiny. It's like, when you're around certain friends who can be quite bitchy or judgmental, and you find yourself becoming like that. You find yourself taking on those traits and you don't like how you feel. But you become that chameleon because you don't want to be different, because you don't want anyone to challenge you or actually make you stand out. So in conclusion, the I'm not seen wound, again, impacts how we see ourselves, and it prevents us from acknowledging how incredibly bloody amazing we are. And yes, you are. With this wound, you drop your standards because you choose people that are probably less likely to leave you. without even realizing. If the people, this is where we like choose people that we can rescue or we can save, because it makes us feel better, and they're more likely to feel grateful that we're around, and they're less likely to walk away, which creates even a bigger feeling of loneliness if that's the case. But when we know how to heal this wound, it's like you have reinvented yourself. You're like the kid in the lolly shop emotionally, because it's just like you have access to so much joy and so much excitement in life, because you don't necessarily need to be putting yourself out there in the spotlight, but you're no longer consciously aware of how you're not seen. You are just, there is a massive sense of reinvention when you heal this wound, and life becomes so much easier. And in the module, I'm going to give you the steps, quite intensive steps to take you through, and I'm going to help you with that, to actually not only just heal this wound, but to be aware of the wound, what it's doing to us, how to push back on it, and then how to release it. Oh, it's amazing. It's so exciting. It's really, really great stuff. So the bars are coming thick and fast, and we're realizing now that our lack of self-worth, we're in a prison of self-doubt, but our bars are actually created by our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs. And when you start to change those, the bars actually dissolve. Right, the last one. Hang in here with me. The last core wound, we've done these ones. Let's go on to the next one, which is the I'm not enough. And I reckon there's not very many humans around that don't know what this feels like. You might relate to it a lot. You might relate to it a little bit. You might not relate to it at all. And if that's the case, all power to you. Write a book, teach us. So the I'm not enough wound, it infects us with a deep sense of inadequacy and unworthiness. It leads to the itty bitty shitty committee in our head going full karaoke all the time. There's so many people in there that are just throwing, like, it's the hecklers, you know, throwing all of this terrible stuff, that inner critic. You're always wanting evidence that you are worthy of love, and you're always chasing it, but you can never get it. It's like the hamster on the wheel. You're just on this exhausting quest to feel that you're enough, but you can't. You just, and even when you get it, you doubt it. Oh, so when you are running this wound, what are we going to see? What are we going to experience? Firstly, you're going to be finding that you're in a cycle of constant comparison. The comparisonitis is relentless. You don't want to fall short, but isn't it funny that you always make sure that you do, which exacerbates these feelings of inferiority and inadequacy? Isn't it funny how you always compare yourself to the people that you feel are doing better than you? Do you ever compare yourself to the people that you're actually nailing life over? No. You want to raise that bar and you want to prove how you can't reach it. So that's what the comparisonitis is. Therefore, we place a lot of unrealistic expectations on ourselves. We raise that bar high and then we push it up even more. And when we reach it, we immediately lift it higher. You know, that thing that you want to achieve, you want to do. Once you get there, you don't sit there in a space of, oh, wow, I freaking did it. Go me. No, you're generally lifting that bar higher by turning around and going, should have done that, or I should have done that differently, or, oh, it would have been better if I did this. You are going to start looking for your flaws in how you did it. You're going to dampen down. You're going to throw a big bucket of cold water on your success, because you're going to be thinking, I should have done it differently, or it's not going to last. We push ourselves really hard to meet these expectations. And we often think that other people expect a lot of us, but have we ever asked them what their expectations are? How do we know that they're even true? Do you find that the expectations you put on you are higher than the expectations you put on other people? Maybe. So what else? Yes, we are perfectionists. In fact, we wear it like a badge of honor. Let me put my badge on. I'm just a perfectionist. It's like, no, you're not. When you call yourself a perfectionist, you're literally saying, I can't change. It's a bit like saying, I'm addicted to something. An addiction, I'm a perfectionist. It's you telling yourself that it's out of your control, that it's not something that you have control over because that's just how you are. Well, it's crap and it's bullshit. Perfectionism, when you don't achieve it, you get caught in that endless loop of self-criticism because it's like it needs to be better. I need to be better. I need to be more. And again, when you do achieve these great things, you're more focused on the faults or how you should have done it better. If somebody has a conversation with you and tells you 10 things they love about you and one thing that they don't, which one are you going to be more focused on? You avoid opportunities a lot when you feel that you are not enough. So if you don't have anybody to go with, you probably don't go. Or if you don't think that you're going to be able to be good at it from the beginning, you might be very reluctant to give it a crack. You are so afraid of failing or people judging you or you looking stupid that you generally will pull back. But isn't that the whole purpose of learning? That you are expected to not know how to do it and not be able to do it when you start. But it doesn't stop you avoiding it, does it? Because in your head, everything actually looks okay. But when you actually go out there and do it, oh, the failure is real. We feel a lot of shame when we are running the I'm not enough wound. We generally confuse it for guilt, though. We think that we feel guilty. We think that we feel bad. Oh, I feel really bad about that. But it's not guilt, it's shame. Guilt is actually a really, really positive emotion. Guilt is something that teaches you. Guilt is great. Shame is where it gets gnarly, though. Think about if you were to back into someone's car. Guilt is going to be going, it's still uncomfortable, it's terrible. Oh my God, this is awful. Damn it. I shouldn't have gone back that far. But because of that, you know that from now on, you're going to know to stop sooner. So the guilt has actually taught you. So guilt is I did a bad thing, and then you learn not to do it. Shame, on the other hand, is I am a bad thing. So if you reverse into someone's car, you're going to be like, fuck, I'm useless. Jesus fucking Christ, why did I do that? What are they going to think of me now? I'm hopeless. And you start that whole incredible spiral of, I am a bad thing. But you think it's guilt and you think that it's heavy, and it is, but it's actually the wrong thing that you're thinking is heavy. So you have a deep-seated belief that you might be defective or a disappointment or that you're not living up to things. You might find that even when you're an adult, when you're around parents, you're still trying to almost like prove yourself to them, get their approval. And if people are unhappy or sad or upset or going through something, you probably feel angsty if you can't make their bad feelings go away. You take a lot of responsibility for other people's suffering and you want to make them feel better. And then you feel really bad because when you're suffering, no one cares. Well, that's not the case, but that's how it seems to us. When you're in the I'm not enough wound, you experience a lot of exhaustion or burnout or both. Life is hard. It's like trawling through quicksand with Wellington boots on that are filled up and you just can't move. You're always tired because of that constant pressure that you put on yourself to meet these unrealistic expectations that you think you need to meet in order to be worth something to someone or to prove that you are of value. You probably work longer hours, you pick up more responsibility than other people. Have you noticed that you become a magnet for the users and for the victims of this world? Like, not the victims, because there are people who are very, very worthy of that title. The people that feel victimized, the people blowing up their pity party balloons and they invite you along and oh, you know that person. When they ring you and you see their name on your phone, your soul just leaves your body because it's like, oh, not again. You're always exhausted. You're always tired. When you have the I'm not enough wound running in you, you practice a lot of self-sabotage as well. Not intentionally, not meaningfully, but you do. You do. You are always undermining your success or emotional well-being because you're so used to, like we said before, that roller coaster life. You believe that there's going to be some sort of a crush on the other side, so therefore you avoid the happiness so that you don't get the crash. You don't like a shitty life, but you know how to live a shitty life where you feel shitty all the time. And that's your doona of familiarity. Not because you want it. In fact, you hate it. You do not even know that you're doing it. But when you're in this self-sabotage cycle, you blame yourself all the time. You blame yourself and you fuck shit up all around you without wanting to. So in conclusion, this wound, like all the others, profoundly distorts the way that you see yourself and the world around you. You look at life through a lens of scarcity and worst case scenarios. You don't enjoy them. You hate them. You don't like them at all. You want to escape them, but you fight hard to hold on to them. And you become, or we become, a bit of a martyr to our own suffering. In fact, if the solution is right there, we generally will go, no, thanks. And we'll stay back in our own suffering just because that feels safer, because the solution to us is actually going to prove that, nah, because if it doesn't work, then it was us all along, and we don't want to deal with that. So we'd rather avoid the solution so that we can keep blaming everything and everyone. But when you heal this wound, and when you know how to heal this wound, perfectionism becomes an unrealistic state to aim for. In fact, you no longer need to. You focus more on getting it done rather than getting it perfect. And you realize that everyone's actually okay with that. No one was really judging you anyway. When you release this need to be perfect, you live a beautiful life, flaws and all. In fact, your flaws are what make you you, and they're not flaws. And you start to align yourself with a sense of purpose, and you align yourself with who you are, because you know what happens? You know how we're stuck in that prison of our thoughts and our beliefs and our feelings? When you start to do the work in this module and the 11 other modules that come after it, you're going to find that your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors stop becoming bars and they start becoming a ladder out easily. And you just climb up and out you go. And once you're out, you don't have the bars impacting you anymore. In fact, life feels easy. Life feels great. Challenges do not become another Mount Everest to climb. They literally become a speed hump. And relationships and connection and happiness become easy. So that's a bit of an overview into module 1. Now, after each of those core wounds, I go into the ways to pull them apart, ways to heal them, and it's a lot more involved. But I haven't given you that right now because you might not even be sure yet whether you want to do this. Now, if you haven't aligned with any of the stuff that we've just covered, then School of Self-Worth is not for you. It's not something that would be beneficial to you. But if you have found that there are things in there that make you go, oh, yeah, that's actually really heavy, or wow, that bites, then this is for you. So if you are still here and you want to know more about the School of Self-Worth, like, okay, so what else is included? I'm going to take you through now a really, really quick, brief overview on all the other modules, okay? So what to expect so you can make a decision. And then I'm going to tell you about the discounted rate that you can get it for right now if you're quick. So let's whiz through this because I'm pretty sure you're going to be thinking, hang on, I'm spinning out a bit right now. So let's just dive right in. The School of Self-Worth, grow beyond what you think is possible. So module 1 is your foundations, and that's what I've just taken you through, understanding what the core wounds are, because you know that in life, you're not able to build this success, the happiness, the relationships, the connection, the looking after yourself, the great habits, the motivation, the awareness because your foundation is crap. And the reason your foundation is crap is because you're trying to build on those wounds. So we're going to heal those wounds, or even better still, understand that even if you don't heal them, you learn how to live quite happily alongside them without them impacting you. And when things do surface up, you're more inclined to go, oh, yep, that's that thing that I do. And then you'll know what to do instead. Module 2 is all about reconnection. This is just like stuff that I get so excited about, and I love this topic. Reconnection is all about realizing that you're not being hard on yourself. You're being away from yourself. You are so disconnected with who you really are. That's what's uncomfortable. So in module 2, I'm going to teach you how to reconnect with your intuition, with your inner guidance system. You're going to learn why you've been finding it so hard to be this version of yourself and how to start returning to who you really are. Like, who are you? Fuck knows. Have you ever really been authentically you? Do you even know what that feels like? In this, you're going to learn about the law of attraction and also the law of correspondence, not in a way that you think is hippie and woo-woo and all that, even though I love a bit of that. I'm going to give you science-based facts on how it works and the law of correspondence, which is all about your internal state gets reflected on your external state. So this is really like if you've got a house full of clutter, it's usually because you've got a head full of clutter. So it's hard to deal with all of that because we've got all of this going on. We're going to resolve that. We're going to make it so much easier in a way that's practical, easy, and fluff-free. Say that 3 times fast. And you're going to start eliminating that emotional resistance and feel a much deeper state of well-being. So module 3 is all about self-awareness. You're going to learn the 2 types of self-awareness and how to make it easy, because really, until you're aware of what's happening within you and what you do, you can't actually change anything, can you? So you're going to learn why you keep spiraling into negative ruminating and overthinking, and you're going to get strategies that are going to really help you with that. Module 4 is all about emotional intelligence, how to follow your heart, but take your brain with you. You're going to learn about emotional intelligence and how to create a balance between your logic and your emotions. You're going to be able to regulate your emotions and stay calm under pressure. And you're going to be able to start to articulate rather than detonate. Lots of empathy stuff in here as well. Module 5 is about communication, the ingredients of communication. There's 3 of them, and how to use them to improve the way that you communicate inwards with yourself and outwards with other people. You're going to learn how to stand up for yourself without it feeling like you're standing up for yourself. You're going to learn how to challenge poor behavior without starting an argument or needing any band-aids. And you're also not going to offend anybody. You're going to also learn how to say no. Lots of goodness, that's what I do. Module 6, boundaries. You're going to become a boundary setting badass. You're going to learn what boundaries really are and how you've probably been doing them wrong. We're going to start making them hard, and you're going to start making them easy. You're going to learn a way to set a boundary that is really strong and rock solid, that does not feel hard. And you're going to learn how to set them with family members, friends, colleagues, your partner, your own inner saboteur. Ooh, and it's going to be, wow, actually, this is easy. Now I can see how I was doing them wrong. Module 7 is all about recalibration, because there's no point going on a journey unless you know what it is you want from that journey. So on this module, what you're going to do is you're going to get some ways to reflect on how far you've come. The goals that you had for this program, are going to check in with those, see where you're at. You're going to find that there's some that you've just #nailed and you don't need to focus on anymore. So you don't want to invest the next range of modules trying to solve a problem that you've already solved. So this might even be a chance for you to lift the bar higher, which you will be, because you're going to realize that actually a lot of the stuff that was hard for you before is now easy. So let's go harder. Let's actually build on this and go harder. So you're going to power up your focus, refuel your motivation, and realign with why you're even doing this. Module 8 is all about resilience. You're going to learn what resilience is and also what it's not. You're going to learn how to build it so you can minimize burnout, because quite often we try to deal with burnout and exhaustion once we're already there. Let's get to a state where resilience is actually no longer even required, because resilience implies that you are bouncing back from something. What if you could get to a state where you no longer need resilience because you are constantly able to practice this self-care and refuel and refill that internal battery so you don't get to a state where you need to be exhausted or burnt out? Module 9 is all about self-compassion. What is self-compassion? Well, you're going to learn about that in this module. You're going to learn how to quieten, if there's any left, that voice of the inner critic. You're going to silence any remaining stuff that is leading you into perfectionism or comparisonitis. You're going to learn how to be kinder to yourself, rather than always judging yourself and assuming that you're going to fail or look stupid. Plus, you're going to learn how to take time out without feeling guilty or needing to have a meltdown first, because quite often we need to have a meltdown in order to go and spend time on our own. Let's not do that. Let's learn how to be fueled up and happy all the time, well, most of the time, without needing to lose our shit first. Module 10 is about self-accountability, because this is massive. How to make better, more thought out decisions that support and align with your better self-worth and also your own internal values. You're going to learn how to stop projecting your insecurities onto other people and your situations, if you have any of those insecurities left, that is. You're also going to learn how to stop other people projecting their insecurities onto you. You're going to learn how to stare yourself down if any of those old patterns start to resurface, without taking them personally and without plunging that fist back into that wound. You're going to be going, oh, You're going to be able to nip things in the bud, like people pleasing, procrastination, and self-sabotage, because you have that accountability. Nearly there. Module 11 is about your positive mindset. Learn how to naturally embrace an open growth mindset of curiosity, rather than a closed, fixed one of needing to be right, needing to be in charge, needing to be in control. You're going to learn how to quickly identify, challenge, and reframe negative thoughts, if they happen, into helpful ones that make you go, oh, that's a better way of seeing that. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what to do now. You're going to be able to change those thoughts, but also align with your values. So it's not like changing your thoughts isn't going to be minimizing what you really want. No, you're actually going to be banging the drum for what it is that you want, so that life feels easier. Plus, you're going to get some tips on how to really reduce any leftover social anxiety, panic attacks, or feelings of dread. Module 12, graduation, self-worth unleashed, because I like a bit of drama. You're going to learn how to bring all of your learnings together and undertake a reflection exercise that will determine your new strengths and how to use them as your tools going forward, because it's not about finishing this and then dumping it. It's a bit like doing a diet and losing all that weight, and then you finish the diet and you put it all back on again. No, 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 no. Finishing this program doesn't mean that you then start feeding yourself all of that bullshittery that you were thinking between your ears when you first started. So this module is all about creating some rituals that will help you keep banging your self-worth revolution drum, and you'll get access to your very own self-worth toolkit, which we are putting together as we go through this program. So you'll get a toolkit, which is almost like a catalog of sorts of things that can help you: podcasts, reading materials, resources, extra little videos, tips, learnings. You're also going to learn what next, and that is that you get life membership to the School of Self-Worth. You get to stay here forever. You get lifetime access to all of your modules, plus there are live coaching calls every single month that even after you finish the program, you can still access. And if you can't make them live, you'll get access to the recordings, which is all the gold, all the questions that people ask along this journey and all the answers that I provide for it and all the clarity. You also, along the journey, you get access to the School of Self-Worth Student Lounge, which is a community of people just like you who are figuring stuff out. A lot of people are active in there. A lot of people just kind of lurk in there and read stuff that's there. It's where a lot of all of extra little videos of mine will drop as well. So you get access to that, and you can stay on in there after you've completed the program. Plus, there are a whole heap of things that I'm adding to the resource library every month, which is a private YouTube channel of video resources on how to beat the procrastination, how to set up a ritual for study, what to do when the doubt starts to creep in. You also help to learn what kind of study personality you are and loads of good stuff. So that keeps going. Now, in terms of pricing, yes, there is a fee for this, but I think that if you were to heal all of those wounds, even in module 1, what would you pay to heal all of those wounds? You'd pay anything. Well, luckily for you, you don't need to. All I'm charging you is just to cover my costs, and you're going to realize it's actually very, very little. So if you want to pay for this monthly, which is probably, if you would rather do like a payment plan, it's just $129 a month, and you get all of this stuff. You get the live coaching, you get all of the modules, all of the resources, all of the worksheets, all of the resource library, the student lounge. You get all of that, and you will save $252 off the yearly program. So this monthly fee is normally going to be $150, but because we are just kicking off and in the early semester of the School of Self-Worth, we're opening this up to another 50 students. So if you're in that lot, you can actually access this cheaper price. If you're a sort of person that would rather just be one and done, I just want to make one payment and be done, then this is the one for you. The upfront and done, $14.95, and it's done. Normally $1,800 for the monthly program, and that's at $14.95. You're going to be saving yourself $350 off the annual program. Now, what happens if you enroll and then you decide that it's not for you? Well, you need to know this, because what happens if that is a possibility? And I want you to have full confidence that you are supported on this. So if you were to take the monthly payment option and then say you get to module 3 and you think, actually, I'm great now, I don't need any more of this, or nah, it's not really for me, you just let me know. I'm not going to ask you any big, huge questions. I'm not going to challenge you. I'm just going to cancel your payments, and you will owe us nothing else. So I will stop your payments from that day, so you don't need to pay anything else. Now, if you have paid the full amount upfront and you decide that it's not for you, we can do a few things. We can either look at what is remaining and I'll refund you that balance of what you haven't used, or you can convert what you haven't used into private one-on-one coaching with me. So either way, you're going to be covered. So it's a full guarantee that you'll either be happy, or we will give you your money back or give you other services that you would prefer to have instead. So below this email, you're going to find in the notes that there are 2 links. There are 2 links that you can click on, which will give you more information. Firstly, if you realize, or if you think that I've heard enough, I'm in, I want to do this, just head on over to my website, which is rebootyourlife.com.au. Click on the School of Self-Worth tab and just enroll. One of the links that I'm going to give you is to an inquiry form, and that is if you've got a few questions, if you're not really too sure, if there is some stuff that you want to know first, just tap that link for the inquiry form, shoot that through, and I'll send you back your answers. There is no obligation on you. I'm not going to pressure you. I'm not going to go, hey, so what do you think? Yeah, and the other link that I'm dropping is just to that link that I mentioned to you a second ago, which is just to the School of Self-Worth page. So what would it be worth to you to realize that your that your self-worth is actually something that you've made your mind up about yourself? What happens if the stuff that you're thinking about yourself is actually what's creating the bars? What happens if you could release all of that and escape and actually climb up into who you were meant to be and who you have deserved to be all along? I would so love for you to join me on this journey. I would love for you to join me. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions via that form or even via where you're watching this right now. I hope that this has answered some of your questions and also given you some stuff to really think about. Again, I would love for you to take this journey with me. Reach out to me, rebootyourlife.com.au if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. Otherwise, thank you for joining me. I hope this has been helpful.